Hello YouTube, it's Lion here with Hobbies of Man once again, and today we're going to do another light novel review. So today's light novel review is over volume 1 of Demon King Daimao, which is an interesting story written by Satoru Mizuki and illustrated by Soichi Ito. The publisher is J Novel Club, and the genre is fantasy and harem. There's no isekai. This is an older title from what I can gather. Like 2006 to 2014, I think, was the original run. Don't quote me on that though, I can't remember exactly. There's a anime adaptation for this, and I think this is digital only. I can't remember. Okay, let me explain how I do my reviews. So I look at 5 things: plot, character, world building, fan service, and art. Not in that order. Plot, characterization, world building are for the sake of rating. Since they're not exactly quantifiable things, but they're a lot more objective than just I like this, I didn't like that. The other 2 things I look at, art and fan service, are for the enjoyment of it all. The art is a purely subjective subject, and so I only give my opinion. And the fan service is more of a warning to those that might not want it in their light novels. And that's that. So let's get started. Here, so the premise here is rather very Harry Potter-esque, very early 2000s magical school, type of stuff. Boy goes to school, and in this particular one, he goes to school that teaches magic in order for government officials to be able to be rather good at their jobs. Turns out that this thing that's basically the Hogwarts hat decides that he is destined to become the Demon King, and chaos ensues right out the bat. So everything he does, even if he does it with good intentions, tends to show support for the theory that he is supposed to be the Demon King, even if it's unintended, and hilarity ensues. That's the whole thing. So I'm gonna put that down because it gets heavy. Yeah, it's very fun, but it's not a great book. Like it's good, but it's not, out of this world. It's not gonna blow your mind. So let's get started. The plot here is enjoyable. I like the setup. I like the introduction to the school. And yeah, there was a few battles that I thought were fun. They felt very, by the book. Naturally, our main character is going to win, even if it's barely or through weird shenanigans that no one understands. And basically, everyone that goes to the school is kind of crazy, kind of odd, kind of weird. And so he kind of fits in, but he's ostracized, but at the same time feared and well liked by a lot of people. It's a really odd dynamic that is interesting, but it's very normal. If you've watched High School DxD, if you've, read anything, seen anything in that magical school type of setting, Rosario Vampire, anything like that, you basically know how this goes. And yeah, so what I think is rather good here is the characterization and the way the characters work, because from the very get-go, from the very beginning, you understand that our main character, Akuto, is a little odd, a little different from every other kid. Every teenage character in this type of book that's a main character tends to have that edgy, I'm over this, life sucks kind of mentality, and he does too, but he also is rather mature about his understanding of it and how he understands that the world sucks, but he wants to change it, which is much more meaningful than a traditional edgy child would come up with, I think, because he actually goes through with it. He just doesn't say it and then not do anything. And his high intelligence, his deep moral compass, and his desire to change the world seem to be why he is destined to be the Demon King, because the Demon King's description is essentially he's gonna uproot the world and destroy it as it is, and then, the logical conclusion is to build a new one. And it's because this world is corrupt and he's trying to make it better. It's just that everyone doesn't realize that or doesn't care because it ruins their lives. It's rather interesting, if a bit like convoluted. So I don't love him. I didn't like him when he started out because he was a little too edgy, too cynical, too like adult for what he's supposed to be, which is like a kid at the beginning. It starts out when he's like a child, and then eventually like that's the prologue, and then the proper book starts with him being a high school student. And yeah, so good characterization there, even if it's a little not exactly contrived, but not super like realistic, I guess. And yeah, there's one other male character. His name is Hiroshi, who is very much the sycophant fanboy supporting role character that a lot of protagonists have. He's that like guy friend that's kind of like a loser that really just makes the main character look better in comparison. That's basically his only job, and make misunderstandings worse by saying stuff that he shouldn't be saying. So that's that. And then there's a bunch of girls because this is a harem anime, or not an anime, a harem light novel. There's 3 main girls introduced here and 1 side girl who also happens to be the villain. And I won't tell you which is which. So there's Fujiko, who's like just crazy. She's like funky, odd, but she's also like the school idol, and so she has this weird dual personality thing going on. It's really interesting, but it doesn't really go anywhere in this book. There's Kina, who is the cute, funny, airheaded ditz character. She's a redhead, and she is actually really good at the magic that she likes, but she's very bad at every other type of magic, and so she's looked down upon by the rest of the school. And so miraculously they become friends, Akuto and Kina, and there's that. And she also has an obsession with rice. The other 2 characters that are introduced are Junko and Korone. Junko is the battle ready, tsundere-esque character. She's really friendly with him at the beginning, but then feels betrayed because he turns out to be the Demon King, and then so they have a very back and forth love-hate tsundere relationship. It's really fun, but it's also a bit tried and tested by this point, so it's not really anything new. Although I guess her interesting backstory / world building around her clan or her like group of people is kind of interesting, but it wasn't really explained that much. And Korone is like the good deadpan kind of girl. She's technically an android, and she's rather cute and stuff, but she's very deadpan. She doesn't really have any emotions, which according to Nuxtaku is prime waifu material, so let's get it, I guess. Yeah, that's basically it. Those are all the characters. You pick which one's the villain. Although I think it's rather easy to tell which one's the villain. But whatever. So yeah, characterization's fun. Probably the best part here. The world building is actually pretty good, or rather good. It's light. It's not super huge, like very like heavy, but it's definitely interesting. I like the whole theory that they explain about the magic, how mana moves around the world, is in the world, and it's manifest as energy because the humans make this weird like circuit thing happen where they pump mana back into the earth, and how humans also have internal mana versus outward mana, and the magic is dependent on whether you use internal or external, how much will you have, and what you do with your mana, internal or external. And so it's really interesting in that sense, but when they explain it originally, it's a bit confusing. And then there's some history alluded to, like the original Demon King and stuff like that. It's really, it keeps you hooked, and it wants you to makes you want to read more, but it's not anything that's cleared up here at the moment. And the ability that humans have of making androids is actually pretty cool as well. Well, I guess she's kind of more like a golem than an android, but she's like a magically created robot. Let's move on to the art. So I really like the art, actually, although it has this weird elongatedness to it. There you go. That's the cover. That's Kina loving her rice. This one's a rather cute image. I like it a lot. These are the characters. Obviously, there's some fan service. That's Korone in the green, Yunko in the red, Yunko in the blue, sorry, Kina in the red, and then our main character's leg is right there. Here's another image, rather fan servicey. So here we go. This is Yunko and Akuto meeting for the first time. As you can see, they're really stretched out. It's a little odd, actually, but I think it adds to the anime aesthetic, and I really like it, I think. Because they're not stretched out in the way Fairy Tail or, like, One Piece is. It's rather, like, they're just tall. They're just, like, rectangles. As opposed to, like, exaggerated but stretched out shapes, like in the other things I mentioned. There you go. That's the meeting with Kina. Here's a nice another picture of Kina. She seems to be the main girl here, even though Korone and Yunko have more interesting connections with him, I think. There you go. That's Korone, or Korone. You know, Korone tends to be rather lewd for an emotionless character. This is Fujiko. That's her idol persona. Here we go. This is another fan servicey image, which I think is a little odd. I didn't like the proportions on this picture. Here we go. That's another one. There's a bit of a spoiler as to who the villain is. Here we go. This is the only battle scene I think we get depicted for us. Well, never mind. There's a second one right afterwards. This one's also a little bit odd. I don't see why they make that happen right there. This is another one, which I guess is also a battle scene. I think this image is cool. This one feels very magical girly. I like them both. And that's that. So, like I said, the art is rather nice. I like it. It's a finished illustration. Oh, sorry. But the fan serviciness of it is not to my liking. Mostly because the proportions being so stretched out and wonky makes it not as exciting or titillating or enjoyable to look at, in my opinion. I don't know. It feels very 2000s-y, which is fine, just not... in this particular case, it's not my favorite, but they're still nice. I like their... when they're set in front or side views, but the back views sometimes are a little odd. And yeah, so that's the art. The fan service, obviously there's sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not good. Usually it's on the good side, and the images can be a little bit odd when they're trying to be lewd or fan servicey. So yeah, my rating here is a 3.5 out of 5 or a 7 out of 10. Like I said, it's not a bad book. It's not an amazing book. It's just a good, solid entry in the light novel library, I guess. So yeah, this is basically if Harry Potter was destined to be Voldemort and had a harem, which actually sounds like a fan fiction summary, so who knows? Maybe someone has written better versions of this, or a more Western version. So yeah, I mean, I recommend it. I don't think it's amazing, but it's definitely fun. If you want to, spend a few dollars and have a few hours worth of entertainment, this is a good way to spend it. I wouldn't say that it's bad or, wasteful. So there's that. And titles that are similar here, I think Harry Potter, High School DxD, Rosario Vampire, High School of the Dead, maybe, high school settings with some aspects of mysticism or, like magic. Not Bleach, though. Bleach is a little more serious than this. And I guess you could say that Bleach is kind of like a harem in the first arc. But it's not really because Ichigo's not interested in anyone. But that's a discussion for another day. Like I said, you know, it's a rather good one. That's basically it. Nothing special. And yeah, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Comment down below. Let me know if I need to do anything to make my videos better. If you recommend I read anything. If you have a suggestion or anything to comment, please do so. And thank you all very much. See you guys later.